Thank you. I'm Marvin Wong. May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I would like to lead off with a question that Greg Applegate asked last time. And actually, there were a couple of questions from that. One was, what is the process for determining who's on the curriculum committee?
I do not know this. Does anybody know this?
Yeah. So, we had not, if you look on the website, and you look at my policy manual, the 2000 series is empty. So, after the discussion last year, we started off with running the process the same as we did last year because it was successful. And we, Kim looked at a little bit of Idaho code, tried to get a mixture of people that we're supposed to have. And we went forward with that based on last year's experience. After what happened this spring, my conversation with Kim and her conversation with me afterward was we need to get our policy approved by the board so everybody knows what's expected. Policy and procedure. So I got that from ISBA because we get the templates for them. And I have that as the project for the incoming superintendent to get nailed down with the board and Kim Fails, because she does curriculum.
Okay, thank you.
Are you expressing interest on being on that committee?
Yes, I think probably several of us are.
Okay.
And so then a follow-up question is, how would we put our names in the hat?
Once we advertise, it depends on the procedures we come up with, but I don't think it would hurt to just send an email.
To whom,
You know,
please?
saying that you're interested.
Okay,
Yeah, you can send them to Kim or me.
I would
whichever.
say Kim Fails, just because we have like a.
Well,
Yeah.
sure, I can forward things too. Sure.
okay, we can send it to Kim and Kim.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, thank you. That's very helpful. Would it be out of line to ask who's on the current committee?
Well, it would, but I left that in the other room. They were just the people who were at the second meeting and the first meeting.
I don't know, there isn't a current one, because we're gonna start from scratch.
Right.
But I mean, we had a list of the ones that were in it last time.
Okay, that would be helpful.
I don't know where that is, but,
And then one of the ones who reached out to me about their concern, I basically did the same thing that you said. When it comes up, just make sure that you're on it, on the committee, well, actually on the committee to form the policy and on the committee. So that way, community concerns are taken care of too.
Okay, so with that comment, was that an invitation for us to express interest on being on the committee to form the policy?
Well, I reached out to that person because of my conversation. But I would say the superintendent works with the board. So again, in your email to Kim and Kim, put that on there, and the new superintendent can work with Kim and the board on specifically what is done.
Okay, thank you.
Roger Kenyon. First of all, I'd like to say I appreciate the board's willingness to have public dialogue like this. My hat's off to you for setting this up the way you have. I want to revisit what was talked about last week regarding DEI. I heard a couple district employees define DEI. And to my memory, they were pretty similar, if not exact. And in this country, of course, America's diverse. And of course, we all strive for equity. And of course, we all include. If a transgender walked into our church, we would welcome them with open arms. That's America. My question for the board, since you guys set policy for the district, is, where's the line with DEI? So we know in many places in our country, DEI includes drag queen story hour for first graders. Now, I don't see that happening here. But where's the line? Where's that line with DEI?
I was always raised, your rights end where mine begin.
I'm sorry?
I was always raised that your rights end where mine begin. So you can do what you wanna do, but just don't have it influence or affect everyone else. Does that make sense? So you can refer to yourself as whatever pronoun, that doesn't mean that I need you to go on for you. Like things like that, like I will call you what I was taught to call you and what I know, you know, what I know of you. It's just, I feel like I have just as much as every right to, enact what I've learned and what I've been raised to do and what my beliefs are. And I'm not gonna stop them from doing whatever they, you know.
Right.
And same with my children, I've always said, well, this is what's happening. And we've had discussions about it, and then we move on. Like, it's a very simple, you have your own choices, we have our own choices. I go to church a lot, my kids don't, they go whenever they wanna go, and they'll go randomly, I don't know, sometimes I don't even wake them up, they just go. I mean, I don't have to wake them up, they're already ready. Like, I've never, I've never enforced things like that. But in turn, they know that they have choices, and I believe that with all the kids in the classroom, that's what I did with all of my students that I had. Every kid has rights until it affects somebody else, another child in the classroom. And then that's not okay.
So, I guess the question again is, for the district policies, where's the line with DEI? How far does that DEI go in our district?
I don't know how to write a policy.
I was just gonna say, I think, one of the tasks we have, to look at is, again, this policy manual that we have in general, but this would be one of those policies we need to develop something that does, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we have anything that addresses that at all. Where are our lines? I think we need to define where those lines are. And again,
Just a second. We do have something when we talk about health and sexuality.
okay.
And, in general, as a teacher, I taught social studies at times, and the question, or the statement was, well, if you're going to show something in your room, it's gotta be PG-13 or PG or PG-13, what would you? And if it was gonna be something outside of that, then the permission slip went home. Because, identifying what it was you're gonna watch, so the kids could opt in or opt out. And I understand what you're saying, and probably, I would say this has to be in the same category. What is the school district and community define, and then what opportunities are being presented at the school for parents to opt in and opt out their kids?
But I guess the concern is, what's available in the curriculum now? I understand that you folks voted down the new curriculum that you were talking about bringing in possibly. But we already have Amplify and ELA, is that correct? So, when it was defined by the school employees last week, or whatever it was, a week and a half ago, it's a pretty broad definition. So, where's the line as far as the district policies are for teachers to adhere to? How far do you go with that? Because we have seen, and I'm sure you guys have seen, in other places where it goes way too far. I don't think it parallels any of our values in some of the places that it's taken way beyond what we would call reasonable, i.e. drag queen story hour.
Yeah, that's extreme.
last week and a half, I have pondered and prayed and like meditated on this because I am as conservative as they come. I'm a Christian and I truly, I truly think we need to speak the same language. I think our community wants the same thing, and I think the educators are coming across as the big bad, whatever DEI is. You know, some of you are saying, we think it's wonderful, but that's under what we learned. So let me give a little example. I have a roommate that was from Canada, and when we were getting to know each other back we were talking about things, and I was like, I love Smarties. And she said, I can't stand Smarties. What is there not to love about Smarties? They're tangy and they're a little like chocolate. She's like, no, they're not, they're chocolate. So we weren't speaking the same language and disagreeing over something. We weren't even talking about the same thing, because in my world, Smarties are little American chunky tangy candies, and in Canada, they're chocolate. So all of us need to define the language. I think when we come up with a policy or whatever, what does DEI mean to our community? Because truly, in my classroom, it means it's safe, it's equitable, it's including. We have people in our community who have two moms. I have students who have two moms. We do, and I'm going to include them. Doesn't mean I'm going to preach it. It doesn't mean we should have drag queen stuff in our literature. And maybe when we do the policy, we have amplified for 5 years, right? And so maybe we've already seen teachers saying that's not appropriate. I'm not going to teach it. And so what is our community, where is the line? But we've got to talk the same language first before, we've got to define that so that DEI doesn't come across when teachers say it as, Miss Carter Crumb is teaching stuff in her classroom that I don't want my kid teaching. I'm not.
And then someone who is a teacher who recognizes that and says, I'm not gonna teach it, they can be recognized as doing something outstanding, as well as people who bring concerns and say this is a concern with the curriculum. So I mean, you gotta have a balance of who's doing something positive, as well as we are still talking about our concerns.
But we've got to speak the same language, you guys, because there's attacks on Facebook and stuff that are attacking us, and you're not attacking us fairly. Because we don't teach that stuff in our classrooms, we don't want to, that's not what any of the teachers in our communities believe or want to teach or will teach, okay? Just.
I'm Sue Kinner. You're right, we're not speaking the same language. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Equity is not equality. Equity has to do with outcomes, not equal opportunity. And when you talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, you're talking about in the workforce, you live in a town that has a percentage of certain victim classes. That's what your business has to hire by that percentage if you follow DEI, which means it's not the best by merit. It's based on color, sexual orientation, and a lot of other things. But when you use the term in the school because you want to be diverse and include, that's not what you're talking about. Your ideal about being diverse and including people and giving everybody an equal opportunity is not DEI, and it's not a term that should be used in the schools.
So when Amplify says we support DEI, they're saying we will hire people of different races, of different colors, of different genders. Is that what they're saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's
that's
what I feel
what
like
the
website. That's what I feel like the website is saying. We're gonna hire. And Sue, is that the problem that you have with the curriculum?
It leads into other things. People, do you want your airline pilot to be the best? Or do you want him to get hired because he's of a certain color, class, victim class? Because that's what this all goes down to. And if you're a part of the victim class, are you a woman? Are you a minority? Is your sexual orientation different? Right. So I'm gonna hire that guy because he meets the criteria, but he doesn't have the
The skills.
The skills.
Which I get what you're saying, and I think that's when people start freaking out over Amplify. If you go to their main website and it says we support DEI.
Well,
It's
we
the
should
hiring.
Over here, guys.
Not like hiring practices?
Well,
So I graduated with a bachelor's in education, it was like 3 years ago, so fairly recently, and yeah, like inclusivity was a huge part of the career path. But the focus was there primarily for special education situations or, you know, specific plans geared towards students who basically can't, or they're basically, it's understood that they can't learn the same way the rest of the class can. So this idea is, how do we create, as a teacher, how do we create a lesson plan that can adequately meet the needs of what ADD, yeah, ELL, yeah, second language, English speakers, all these different situations. And so there definitely was some things that I was uncomfortable with in it, because it's not just that, it's not just learning disabilities, it's also things that might be termed gender dysphoria or other things of that nature. But I think a lot of it was that intention of, when it's learning, we're trying to help these kids learn in their style, whereas in a hiring process, that doesn't work. You know, you can't pick according to the style, in my opinion. You have to pick who's gonna do the best job. But for learning, we do wanna gear towards how can we get all the students there, and there are so many special ed students in our schools. It is challenging, but I understand the concerns, because it's there
I was
too.
gonna say something real quick too. So, and I'm stealing this quote, but curriculum should be seen more as a resource rather than like this is what people are gonna talk like. The teacher matters a ton. Teachers are constantly using discretion. You need the right teacher, you need to engage the teachers, because that matters more than anything, right? I mean, we have a great US Constitution, but it's being shredded all the time, right? So the rule, yeah, maybe we need to put a rule in place, a policy in place, but teachers are more important than anything, and we need to engage them, because they're using discretion on a daily basis, I'm guessing.
Really? It's like
Yeah.
having a smorgasbord. You go
Yeah.
into a hungry, you don't eat every single thing on there. You pick and choose. If you're allergic to shellfish, stay away from shrimp.
And even with the example that Michael gave, language has changed, because for most of us who were in school, kids were mainstreamed in the classroom, now they're included in the classroom, so that plays into what you are saying about DEI. It's inclusion, well, we now have inclusion special ed, we've had that for 20 years, we want them included in the classroom.
Without DEI.
Right. Well, again, I'm talking about a play on words, we've used it for years, but it also, the meaning has changed.
So could the board create something that doesn't use the DEI language? Possibly, for inclusion, something.
We do
We have our mission statement that says educational excellence for all.
Maybe
There we go.
Couple points. I love that about engaging with teachers, and that's the thing that, and that's the point I've been trying to make in the last couple of addresses that I've delivered, is exactly what Clever was saying. We're not speaking the same language, and I want to point out that that's deliberate.
Not by us.
No, by some of the foundations that have kind of been the origin of this over the years. That it is deliberate, that there's deliberate confusion around those words, and it's kind of been redefined. Exactly for what you said of, well, it's these good things, but it kind of also blends. So I think we need to be careful when we're talking. I think we do trust the teachers, but if we're not talking the same language, then it's really hard to be sure where that lies. And one more thing though, I did want to clarify, it's not just the hiring practices for Amplify. I'd like to see if we could explore getting rid of the LE curriculum, because it's not just our hiring practices, it's in the curriculum and other things that Amplify wants to teach to the students. That's in there that I pointed out.
So there was another district that had a hard time with another curriculum.
And they formed a committee, and they went through every grade level, every book. The committee were sectioned off into grades. They analyzed every page, they made spreadsheets of what teachers could not teach. We can do that.
Yeah, thank you. And so I really appreciate Ms. Carla's bringing up the definition matters, and what Michael said, and I'm sorry, I don't know what your name is, but what you said about definitions matter, because I believe that to have a reasoned conversation, we need to understand what these definitions are. And that's why last time, and again tonight, I brought some definitions. And so it turns out I did some search on the internet, and there is not an official legal definition of diversity, equity, and inclusion. But what Reuters Practical Law says, many employers interpret the terms as follows, and I'll just kind of drop into the one about equity because it seems like that's the one where it's the sticking point. I think we understand that diversity, we don't want to make everyone be the same cookie cutter thing, and inclusion, we want to include people. Equity is, I think, the thing that we need to focus on here. And like, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. Sue, what Sue said, equity is not equality. What I grew up with was equality of opportunity. It's similar to Martin Luther King saying, I want my daughters to be known not for the color of their skin, but for the content of their character. And so here, equity is a concept that differs from fairness and equality where everyone is treated the same. Equity encompasses achieving equitable outcomes, for example, pay equity in the workplace across different groups by addressing specific needs, correcting past practices, or eliminating barriers. So what this means in practice is that people who are in a protected class get a leg up. If one were to ignore past history, one would say they were getting an unfair advantage. If you are one of the ones that believes in oppressor and oppressed classes, like there are classes of people and everybody in that class is an oppressor, or everybody in a class is an oppressed person, regardless of what their actual background is. So somebody could be of a certain ethnic ancestry, and their parents could have gone to Ivy League schools, and they're doctors and lawyers, and they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. Yet, because of their ancestry, they get this leg up.
Where does veterans preference fit in that?
I think that is a separate topic, actually, because veterans, they've served the country, and so I view that as in the same light as the GI Bill. They've served the country, they ought to get some reward for it.
It's based on what they did.
Yes, exactly.
It's based on what they did.
Based on merit.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so the last thing I wanted to say about this is that, as it was explained to me by the czar, the DEI czar at HP where I used to work, this is about equality of outcome. It's not about equality of opportunity. And so exactly like what Sue said, you get some of these people in a protected class, and in order to meet the quotas, you go and you just bring them in, and like I shared last time, UCLA Med School was doing this, and half their students can't pass the test to get on to the next level. So again, this is really something that we need to consider seriously about whether we want to have this. Now, I'm all for equal opportunity. I think that is the foundation of America. But this business of, well, we need to create equality of outcome regardless of whether the person's qualified or not, or past the learning steps or not, I think that's nuts.
So I don't do Facebook, and I know there's a lot of good teachers in this district. I don't know all the teachers. So the reason I'm asking for policy is so for those teachers I don't know about, that they're not gonna stray out of that policy. I think that's more than reasonable. And to give you an example, my wife's sister teaches first grade in Oregon. Counselor came in, took over the class for an hour, which I guess she does every week. She draws a line on the board, writes boy at one end, girl at the other, turns around to these first graders and says, what do you feel like today, boy or a girl? Okay? I don't think any of us want that happening here. Right? And so again, that's why we have a need for defined policies.
And it doesn't have to stop at DEI. I mean,
if there was a committee that came through and like, hey, whatever it is, it doesn't, we don't want it as part of our curriculum, that would be a great recommendation. Valerie, 5 minutes.
I just wanted to say, I do agree that there needs to be a policy in place, but I want us to make sure that, especially as the board, you're careful of how you word that, because teaching children versus treating and treatment of children is very different. And, because I've seen that, I've never once taught anything inappropriate in my classroom in that regard, that people would not want me to do. But I will tell you, as a third grade teacher, I had a parent come to me one year, letting me know that her child was confused and they thought they were gay. And she told me that she was willing to tell me this because she knew that I was going to love and care and teach her child the same as I would anyone else, regardless of that. And that I would be aware of the struggle she was going through and be able to do what I could to help her. She did not in any way ask me to teach to anything to her child or to anyone else in the classroom, but just wanted to make sure that her child had someone that she knew she could come to. And her child did. Her child came to me and we were able to, and I did not go, I didn't sit there and tell her anything. I just let her talk to me and let her talk to her counselor and relay what was talking to the parent, and the parent understood what was going on. So I just want to make sure that if we do go the route of putting a policy in place, that it's really meant to say we're not teaching these things, but it's, and not trying to keep us from making our public school a place where every kid feels welcome.
And also as a parent, I have a graduate and I'll have another graduate next year. My kids have gone K through 12 at CB. And there wasn't really a time I've ever not trusted any of the teachers. Mr. Martinez has probably always been the best one for my daughter, because she's a little mouthpiece. But he could always redirect her in a different direction, and, you know, but, as far as that goes, I mean, I think, those teachers have done a really good job, and I trust them 100% with my children.
And we would invite you guys to get involved in the schools. Go in, go volunteer, go see what's going on. We welcome you. The teachers welcome you. Like, they're not the enemy. Like, some people are making them out to be on Facebook. Like, it is truly, we're working as a community, as a team for our children, and we'd love to have you come and help.
I don't look at teachers as the enemy. Like I said, I know there's a lot of good teachers here, I just don't know all of them. And again, my concern is, are some teachers gonna go out of line?
I think
But there is no
policy,
line.
but love for you to get involved as well.
In policy?
Both. Policy and school.
So you guys are gonna then put something out about, hey, we're gonna develop a policy?
1 minute time.
I just wanted to say, working in maintenance, I'm around the schools a lot. I try to not be in the classrooms when the teachers are teaching, because I don't want to be a disruption. But occasionally I have to be in the classroom when they're teaching something. And so it's just kind of been a mixed bag of places and times I've been in classrooms. And there's not been one time that I haven't been in a classroom and my thoughts were, wow, this is some good stuff. Just listening to how they interact with the kids and how they're teaching. They're doing a great job. And I agree with you that maybe there needs to be something, because there could be a bad apple come in, maybe, I don't know. But they're not teaching that stuff now, but maybe having some policies would be a good idea just to prevent that from happening.
Okay, I don't know. 6:30.
Ah.
All right. Entire sentence goes distract.
Makes sense. All right.
Happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So, consensus
I need a motion to amend the agenda to add this under business number 12, concealed firearms.
Can I have a motion to amend the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we add to the business portion of the agenda on concealed firearm policy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I need a motion to discuss that.
I move that we accept the amended agenda.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now move on to approval of minutes, consent agenda.
Do the whole entire consent agenda.
Well, the whole consent agenda. Everybody okay with all that?
Everybody,
I move that we accept the consent agenda, section C, as presented.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Move on to reports. Superintendent's report and recognitions.
Okay, these people were nominated by, Maureen for their outstanding work on the GEMS barbecue. Angie Clovis, Sybil King, Caitlin Reuter, and Christine Vieira, stepping up without being asked at the GEMS in barbecue by doing multiple tasks, getting tables set up and serving food and helping with washing dishes and cleanup. I got board members who need to sign, and then getting to those folks. And then what I put in today, which is on my updated agenda, is for the math curriculum committee. Both professionals and community members working on math curriculum adoption this year for grades 6 through 12. So those two things, and then, in my report, you have the open enrollment report, which is supposed to be given to you every June. And then you have a summary of Apple awards, and then I just put a couple notes in on some common terms. And I think it kind of equates back to the discussion we just had. So you guys all can get these when the minutes come out. Common terms, we talk about buying down the levy, but in the educational nomenclature, we really reduce the levy from an amount. Savings account or rainy day fund. Typically in education, we have a cash reserve fund balance or contingency fund. So those are specific educational terms, which mean specific meanings. In other words, we're not having money we're pulling out of a hat because it's saved up. We have a reason for it, and the reason is given in the educational nomenclature that we educate ourselves and the community on. That was in my regular report, my updated report, which I put on the table today. There is supplemental curriculum through the Wadsmith Center. IDA GEM is what it's called. It's an innovative fourth grade curriculum in social studies. It is a supplementary curriculum. We have been invited, or teachers have been invited statewide to participate. And because it is a supplementary curriculum, I gave Kim Fales the go-ahead as superintendent, and Carly Beeler is in the loop if there's funding needed. There's a link on there if you want to look at what IDA GEM, Idaho History Curriculum Pilot, is all about. And then again, professional learning for principals, since we have 4 new, well, 2 new and 2 continuing. Project leadership for Melanie Martinez, it would be year 2 of 3. Jessica Robinson, the Idaho Principal Network, year 2 of 2. And both Amanda Bush and Vinnie Martinez would be year 1 of 2. And that's my report.
thank you.
Mr. Spock, quick question. With respect to page 2, under the first paragraph, under what tasks being focused for the upcoming month, just read it. It says curriculum library work on this topic will continue in July 2024. The incoming superintendent will have to work with building principals
to start this process before the start of the school year. The word "start" jumping out at me because I thought this was an ongoing work that Ms. Fales was overseeing. It sounds like nothing is being done.
Well, it hasn't been clear as to what the superintendent is expecting of the principals because we have the policy.
Mhm.
So what I'm trying to relay is we have it, we need to start having people dump stuff in there so that the community knows what's available.
Some months ago, we were told that there was a database established and that was happening. That's not correct.
There is a database, but at some point, you adopted a policy that said you wanted every single supplemental material, and prior to that, we were each putting in things as we used them, and so that was never conveyed to anyone.
What part of that, I'm sorry, what part of that wasn't?
The change between one item that you use to
Oh, really?
all the things, so we had no idea you had changed that policy, so we actually had to pull out the book from last year when Mr. Higgins was here, because I don't know what happened, but we were unaware that a policy had changed. So we do have a database, but we don't believe it's substantial enough to represent what we are now being asked to do. And the other thing is that we are trying to figure out where we would house such a library, because when you have, say, at GEMS, 40 teachers who use all different kinds of supplemental materials, if it's not digital, it could take up a whole room.
That's why I thought the idea of making it digital solves that problem.
It doesn't
The policy doesn't
because,
require hard copies, it just requires the information.
but then you still have to have a way for teachers to go in and scan and upload that information, and that was never conveyed. So yes, the digital, it exists, but how, and we're going to check that that's occurring, we need to work as administrators to make sure that goes on.
Okay, I thought it all was pretty clear. But
That's not, the question is not all, the question is, how often do you have somebody upload it? How do I know that you uploaded everything that you've used? Where, it's an extensive conversation when there's 40 teachers who teach 7 subjects 4 days a week. So we're trying to figure out a way that we can actually do what you're asking us to with some accuracy.
I guess I'll agree with this, this policy is over a year old, and we're still at the starting gate, that's disappointing.
I don't know if it's,
We didn't know about it until maybe 3 weeks ago. Nobody told
Really?
staff that had changed.
I don't. I think once we get the map approved, that'll help a ton, because
Right.
people are using supplemental so
Supplemental.
much. I mean,
Right.
the rest of the stuff is pretty,
Once you have, yeah.
the adaptive curriculum.
Yeah.
But the math, I mean, I was a copy machine, I've seen the amount of drill and kill, you know, that would be really hard to document.
And say you teach a lesson and then you have 3 kids that miss this kind of problem and 4 kids that miss that kind of problem. Then a good teacher pulls the book out and finds work for these 2 different groups. Now, they've already submitted their lesson plans and their papers for that week. Now they have to go back and figure out all the other supplemental work that they used for those 2 kids on those 2 days. That's happening while they're teaching, or it's going on an overhead, it's not a worksheet. So it's not.
I'm not disputing that it's an additional amount of work, I'm disputing the fact that we don't seem to be making actual progress after all this time. Okay, anyway.
I think we can work on it next year.
Yeah, I think you make a good observation, look at the work on the concealed weapons, the last.
That's a different animal, Spock, that would have to do with funding, or something else to do with funding.
Well, it's still to get it going.
I get it, I get it.
You know, the daily work that gets in there, I understand where you're coming from because of the, you know, it being implemented.
Well, this was unanimously approved by this board, and actually the previous board, long before you got here.
I understand.
It was approved, but there wasn't a procedure,
Well,
really, it wasn't very clear.
And that's because we said we would, with the superintendent, work with the schools, to develop.
Okay, so
Fair
we
enough.
need to drop the ball. We need a
We
committee or something.
admin dropped the ball, not the board, one thing.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah, well, they have a lot going on, so.
Okay.
I think we should come up with the procedure we want, the policy that we wrote.
Really?
Oh, yeah, definitely, with admin, if we want this to happen, we need to help them implement this.
I'll work with you on that then.
Okay. I have like 4 meetings already. I think everybody's gonna be doing this every night. Okay.
All right, do we wanna move on to moving forward?
I think, well, I'm done with this, we've got.
So, sir, good.
We're good? We just go into budget hearing.
I mean, yeah, it's just a normal packet. I figured questions were one, but if there's questions about finance, what did we do this? Yeah, it's ready.
Alright. We're suspend the meeting and open the budget hearing. I need a motion to open the budget hearing.
I move that we open the budget hearing.
Second.
So who did the second?
John.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then just turn it over to Carla.
It's your show.
So we went pretty extended, well, I don't know, I can't say extensively, hang out with her for a week or a month, and then it'll be pretty extensively. But we went over the budget, on the 10th as a workshop, and, so we made some adjustments, about, like I took the Elk City line item off. We talked about health insurance, and so there's a few items that were adjusted and reflected. So this number has changed because of those. The amount to balance the budget from SRS has changed, it dropped. But it's still the same presentation that I gave you guys. It's just, again, those few items that we talked about. District. Travel, lodging expenses, was taken out for, extracurriculars, thank you for that clarification. It should, is it under your negotiations, the draft negotiations? Okay, and so what I did wanna point out is, so from last year's budget, general fund budget, to this year's budget, it's an increase of 1.66%. I think that's fairly good considering where we're at, like with inflation and other aspects. Yes, we did transfer or change some of the health insurance to come out of the remaining ESSER funds. If anyone was here and remembers that conversation, so hypothetically, if that was in, this amount would obviously be higher, and the change from the 23-24 budget to this budget would then be closer to 3.06%, which is kind of where I would like to stay pretty consistent. So that was something I wanted to point out, and then all of this down here just kind of reflected the same changes. So, again, I kind of talked more last time about like breaking these out, understanding what trailing benefits are, what really are the different items under special education, not just lumping it all together, same with instructional materials. So ideally, this gives you guys a better idea of really what's going into the budget. And so this is how I present it to you guys as a board. Because I feel like utilities, and extracurricular program operations and instructional materials makes a lot more sense than what I have to submit to the state. And so this is that example, and so this is what I send to the state, and so it chunks it out by like this first part is taxes, and so we have the supplemental amount up here and our tort amount, and then other local items down here, and we have state funding over here, and then down here is the expenditures. And so again, as I was saying, like I have salaries broken out, and yes, they have salaries here, but then it's under elementary school program and secondary school program. There's some special education, but there's also like instructional improvement program, and so these aren't maybe as user-friendly terms, and so instead of just presenting what I send to the state is kind of why I've created this spreadsheet. But again, not a lot changed besides those conversations we had. And so again, the majority of the budget, 79.1%, is our personnel salary and benefits. We know that takes up the majority of it. And then what I didn't have broken down for the budget workshop was this extra item. It just breaks it down so we have salaries up top for this amount, but I just wanted to show what amount was general education, what amount was special education, and same with non-certified, and then other, what that really consists of. So we have literacy funds for some staff members for their salaries, and trailing benefits, and again breaking that all down. So all of these numbers off in this column are up here, but I just wanted to format it in a different way so you guys could see the breakdown of those. But yeah, it's just that new kind of presentation I was talking about the last go around. Something that I did want to point out is that pending the approval of the budget for those in the audience, this is our website, and so under financials, our annual budgets go here. That's the state one I was just showing you guys. So this is last year's, or I guess technically this current year's 23-24. So that will go there. And then this one that I'm showing will go in this budget and levy information. So like if you look here, I have my 23-24 general fund budget draft, and again, you can see how much it's kind of evolved, but I just wanted to show you guys where that will be housed once the pending approval from the board happens. But for general fund purposes, before I hit into the other funds, any questions there? Again, we hit it pretty good on the 10th. These are just with our updates.
Well, thank you for the specificity. That's pretty good. Really very good.
So then I'll jump into other funds. So this has been kind of something that I've really been wanting to expand on. We talk about it a lot, that how important the general fund is, but we can't forget about all these other funds. And so I go through fund numbers. So these numbers right here, like 240 for the maintenance emergency fund or 241 for driver's education, that relates to me. If we go back to the state one, it goes back to here. So M&O, or oops, I don't know what I just clicked. I didn't mean to. Go away, please. So M&O is our general fund, so that's Fund 100. But then if you keep scrolling down, this is a lovely 92 pages of all of our funds. So then we have Fund 220, which is our Federal Forest Fund Reserve, or SRS funds. 241, like I said, is driver's ed, and so you could just keep scrolling through all of these. 238 is our student activity fund, and so that's just how that relates. But again, those who were at the workshop, these numbers in this column is our balance forward or carry forward amount. And so for food services or child nutrition, for example, Fund 290, right now we'll have about 167,000 carried forward to next year. The majority of that amount that we kind of obtained in our food service account was from COVID years where all students were free. And so we got a lot more reimbursement from the state, and that kind of made our child nutrition program a little bit more substantial. And so we're anticipating between state reimbursement this year and kids who pay for their lunches and rebates and all of those items, our income to be about 590,000. So for income and carry forward about 757,000. So then you come down here to our expenses. So we have the 757,000, but we're anticipating 670,000 worth of expenses, leaving a carry forward of about 86,000, 87. So that's just kind of how I wanted to present this. The majority of our extra or other funds zero out for the year. like Title I, IDEA school age, IDEA preschool, Medicaid, Title IV, Carl Perkins, Title II. They're all designated to zero out because those funds need to be used in the year they're allocated to our school district. And so that's why there's so many zeros over here. But as you can see, our SRS funds, after we remove, we talked about this in the budget workshop on the 10th as well. We decided on 2 months worth of expenditures at $1.2 million each month, so a total of $2.4 million. So if we have that as our reserve account, I think this gives us a more true description of what our SRS funds will look like, and you guys as a board can determine how we want to use these. So again, SRS funds with our carry forward, $900,000 I'm anticipating for our annual distribution, and then $50,000 in interest income brings us to this about 3.6 million dollar amount. But 2.4 of it goes here, so that's 2.4 of this number. The remaining of this number is the 72,000 that we're transferring to general fund, that's here. And then you'll see the difference of $300,000. I did put that in expenditures because we talked about curriculum. I'm not saying it has to happen, but I have to put it in for the state so that we can show a potential expenditure. And so, I mean, obviously, if it doesn't happen, it will still be there, but I did want to show that just in case we do spend it. So that leaves about $800,000. And so that's something you guys can keep in the back of your mind. And I feel like that's the true number you guys can really start honing in on, whether that is reducing levy amounts or purchasing curriculum. Maybe this is almost your new curriculum budget. I'm just throwing things out there. But I feel like that gives you guys a lot more of a number to hold on to for what you have for flexibility in that sense. Does that make sense? Okay.
So does that go towards our 2-month reserve or 3-month reserve?
No, that's this 2.4.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why like we wanted to break it out in a line item, so we knew we're like, we got our 2 months that you guys kind of agreed on last time, that's covered. And so now this 800,000 is like your true number of like, what can we utilize and moving forward.
We have about 800,000 in discretionary, if we want to do anything.
Which we
But-
can use for curriculum or not.
For whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. But we don't have to make that decision.
No. It's something that we'll probably have to address like going into next year's budget and being
Okay.
like, instead of claiming the 2.9 on the L2 or something, maybe you guys want to reduce the levy amount, or maybe we're going to have a presentation next month at the board meeting for Rich Hauser or Boucher's facility update, and maybe even with these funds down here, the modernization funds, maybe there's something else that we need. Maybe we talked about housing for an Elk City teacher, or I don't know. There's, I think, a number of things that can be, but no, it's nothing you guys have to decide on now. I just feel like it was necessary to point out as a more true number of where that's at.
And this reflects the negotiated agreement costs as of now, right? We don't know who we're hiring this summer, but like.
Correct.
So if we get more experienced teachers, would we be allowed to use that to help cover that extra expenditure, or like what?
If, so like right now for our open positions, I did an average
Okay.
of what our salary schedule
Okay.
will be.
Okay.
And so hypothetically, if all of them are at the top level, then yes, we'll need a cushion. And we might have to do that. But once all hires are done, I'll have a reevaluation of that, and I'll bring that to you guys as a board and just make sure you guys know that, like, okay, my estimate of using an average number worked out, or we got really good experienced teachers and we're gonna need more. So, but yeah, I'll bring that back.
And then on the general, the budget hearing 6/20, I think it's one up. Like one page up. Can you just be a little more specific on what, like, I know it's the general fund, but is this a snapshot? I'm just trying to figure out, like, the header, I don't,
This guy?
nope.
No.
The one previous to that, revenue one. Keep going. Oh, well, on ours, we have the budget hearing 6/20/24 general, but there's no, like, what is that?
It's page 4. Is it?
It's page 4.
I just don't know what all the.
Oh,
It
did
has
I?
your salaries, certified salaries.
Oh, yes, so, it's because I didn't expand this. I
Okay,
apologize.
No,
will
you're fine, I was just like, okay,
It
wait,
should,
what?
so it should mimic, this.
Okay,
So that's, so again, the first 3 pages, so we got the revenue for general fund, we got the expenditures page 1 and expenditures page 2. This, and I do apologize, I'll
No, it's fine.
adjust
I was
that
just
before I
trying to-
get it on the website. This is within the 2 expenditure pages I just scrolled by. It's just a broken out version of what's in each.
side by side.
Yes.
Okay.
So I thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, I will get that expanded before I upload it to the website. Good catch. Anyways, so I don't know. I don't have a lot else. Oh wait, no, I lied. I want to go.
And the 800,000 does not include the 300,000 you put into the curriculum from the math that we transferred from last year.
Correct. Okay, so these last few pages, I didn't print out this whole thing because it was 92 pages, but I did print out the last 5 pages of it for you guys as board members. It's just a summary. So this is the general fund, 100. This is the SRS or Federal Forest Fund, and then it lumps all of the local funds, which are funds 230 through 239. All the special project state funds, which are 240 to 249, special project federal funds, 250 to 289, child nutrition. So those are it's just more of a summary. And then down here, this page, the third one in it says S30 right here. This is what I'm gonna post in the paper. So it's the first 2 columns is school year 21-22 and then school year 22-23 actual numbers, and then school year 23-24 budgeted numbers because our actual numbers haven't finalized yet, and then proposed budget of the 24-25. So once you guys approve it, I'll post it in the paper as per right down here. It even says requirements of Idaho Code 33801. So we have to do that every year, but I just kind of want to give you a heads up. It's a 4-year look at what our actual and budgeted budgets have been. And then again, just another summary of the M&O from last year's budget to this coming year's budget, and then all other funds. So it's just different ways to look at it, but I wanted to give that to you guys.
So in 23, the federal revenue started getting itemized on its own. Where was it before that?
Hold on.
Like when you, all of those?
These?
No.
No, back here.
That. So like here starts federal.
Oh, because
Where was it here?
So this is general fund, and in general fund.
Got it. Okay.
Got
Got it.
And then all other funds,
Okay.
so.
Got it. You know what? It would be so nice if the state like reformatted these so they were like better
They're,
to read.
yeah, they're
But-
not great, but that's fine.
Even just like sans serif font would be nice.
Yeah. But, so that's kind of my wrap up of the budget hearing. Any questions? Larry?
You indicated you were gonna
Oh.
mention.
Yes, sorry.
Thank you.
There, we have a fund 246. That is our state substance abuse, or also known as our safe and drug-free fund. And so that's where Mr. Dunn and Mr. Spock have been talking about for the,
Concealed firearms.
thank you, concealed firearms policy. And so this is one that we have had a decent carryover. So like we have 47,000 of it in carryover, and we'll get, every year we get about 15,000, sometimes a little over, sometimes a little under. And so each year we budget $2,500 for supplies, and that's mostly for drug tests for our students. And then we're also budgeting $5,000 for purchase services for our right response training, which is a safety thing. And then down here, we have a security program. And so Mr. Dunn and Mr. Spock came up with what they would need, and it's more of a kickoff. Like once we have people established, it won't be so high. So it will, I mean, there could always be turnover, and that could happen, but it will be about 10,000. 5,000 of this is for security, for a tech thing that Michael and I have been working on. And so that's kind of where those numbers came from, but I just wanted to show that it is in the budget, if you guys, or wherever that stands in the policy and moving
So
forward.
is it in the security line item?
Yes.
Could we make its own line item, or does, I mean,
Not, oh, in our world, yes. In the state's world,
got it, okay.
no.
That's actually a good idea, though.
Just because they're not our security program?
Yeah.
That's not what we're relying on them, like, I mean, kind of,
Yeah.
but not.
And that's fair. For state purposes, that's where it'll be.
Okay.
In our purposes, yes, we can have it. And I think that's good too, because we need to line item to see like where it falls every year and make sure that this fund can keep up with it and make sure that, yeah.
Kind of surprised we have that much in there, like, it would be nice if we had like vape sensors in the bathrooms, do we have
I
those?
think we do, actually.
Yeah, I think we do.
Because otherwise, because we took the door off one bathroom, because the vape wasn't working in the. I'm just saying, if we have $45,000 in there, we need to.
We've talked about
that- okay.
maintenance, yeah, that's on our list, we've been talking about how many we need, where all we want them.
Great.
It's an ongoing conversation.
And luckily
I
for
did
that,
see it
while, and that is really important and would be a good use of those funds, I feel like we get emails all the time about grants for those types of things too. So that one's a good to keep in mind too, but. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Good. We have a motion to adopt the proposed budget for 24-25.
So,
I'm not making the motion, someone else can make the motion.
Okay, so you're making the motion?
that's right, I'll make
Okay.
a motion to adopt the 24-25 budget
Thank
as presented.
It's learning too much.
Uh-huh. Sit too close, I'm gonna separate that. I need a second, please.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Alright,
Aye. Now, I need a motion to close the budget hearing.
I move that we close the budget hearing.
Second.
Yeah, over there.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, Carly,
Open up,
Yep.
as always.
resume our regular meeting. Where we at? Hearing classified employee wage scale.
There was just the tiniest adjustment that I felt was important, was just basically consolidating the two parapro columns and having, I worked with Amanda on this, just having the little caveat at the bottom. Instead of having classroom paras and one-on-one paras, which I think kind of locks it in, the caveat at the bottom that has the asterisk that basically allows the special education coordinator to say this is a more severe case, whether again it's extreme behavior or maybe bathroom or personnel hygiene type situations. I felt like it just cleaned it up a bit, and then I did adjust this substitute wages or rates to just be a little bit more comparable with other local districts. I mentioned that in one of our workshops that we were incredibly high, and that sounds bad, and that it should be a good thing, but I just thought it would be more comparable.
On a percentage basis,
Where does your school
the change?
librarians fall?
Oh, for the substitutes? It kind of depends because we have the, hold on, I can run it really quick. I don't like
Kind of general questions for financial people's benefit.
See, I'm separating you two.
What?
I know.
We're a team.
about 10%.
Okay, good question, thank you.
I feel like it's already hard to get subs and keep them. Okay, on a different note also, at the top of this classified thing, we just need to edit the asterisk that
Did I
says,
spell something wrong again?
sorry, no, it's just determined by case.
Mm-hmm.
So determined case by who? We need to,
I gotcha.
so like, we need to get rid of the words first by,
Okay.
and then we need to, state who is gonna,
Obviously, I would prefer it to be the special
I
education
agree.
coordinator.
so we just wanna add that.
Okay.
Good.
How much did you decrease it by? The
Well,
subject?
honestly, it's more the long-term one. We went
Okay.
from, yeah, because
Okay.
that
Yeah.
was a lot.
No, that's fine. The other thing I wanted to add on here possibly is whoever does the subs management in each building, they get up at 4 or 5 in the morning and they're trying to find substitutes for people. And for the teachers and paras, and they're working outside of their contract time.
Mm-hmm.
No, they got a system several years ago.
It doesn't
Ready,
work.
sub.
Like,
Oh.
you can put it in, but if nobody takes it,
Answers
then
it.
nobody takes it, and now she has to make, or he has to make the phone
So
calls.
that is your
Or-
school secretary, that's always been a school secretary job.
It is school secretary, but they're
Um,
working like 2 hours before their normal contract time.
Well, they usually get,
Do they get
comp
hourly on that?
time or, yeah.
They don't?
They do,
Oh, you guys are doing comp again? Okay.
yeah. They get compensated.
There we go.
Okay. So they are putting it in their timesheets?
I'm not
I don't think they
babysitting
are.
that.
Okay, that's something we need to look at.
I'm not gonna lie, like, we have some that I do believe report it, and I think we have some that just do it out of the goodness of their heart, but that's not my
Whoever their
battle.
supervisor is needs to clear that up. Who is that, you?
Principal.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you
So another
share
thing
that
that
with your
we-
principals, all of them? It's a lot of the element, I mean, like, honestly, it's a lot of gems. Like 42 teachers, 5 call out, only 2 get subbed, so she's calling around.
Oh, I know it exists.
Yeah.
So
I
just
don't know.
from my experience as the early riser that got the subs,
Uh-huh.
your day went a lot better if you got the sub than that ready sub, because
Right.
that classroom might not be able to handle me,
Uh-huh.
but that classroom
That's
can
right.
handle Larry. So.
Yeah, it
All
does,
which
I
remains
just
to be
think there needs to be human involved, and therefore they need to be compensated for those hours.
I'm not disagreeing, I don't have
Yeah, I mean, legally, we can't ask them to do that.
we definitely don't.
Can we also get rid of the automated system and have somebody else?
Well, it helps, it takes off half the load.
Oh.
It just doesn't take off all the load.
There are days where there's 12 people out at GEMS, 12, it's just a madhouse. And so
Yeah.
it's not just about finding people to fill that we have, it's about calling a parent saying, you're gonna be in this room today, you're gonna be that, it's just, who's covering the recess duties, blah, blah, it just goes on and on. So it is in depth, but I will have a
conversation about whether we're making sure that those secretaries realize that they can fill out a comp sheet every time when that happens and comp that time and get some time off later.
Let's not rabbit trail too far.
Sorry, yeah.
Wage scale. Is that all we need?
I move that we accept the classified employee wage scale with the changes that were
Designee for.
designee for what?
Noted.
It's a motion.
Noted, okay, thank you.
The second.
All in favor or more discussion?
Aye.
All in favor?
All in favor.
Aye. Okay, ratify negotiations.
So I received an email, I think you guys did too, from Valerie, that we did ratify. So we need to accept the ratification, I
We
think
have a
we're,
motion to accept that?
we're agreement that.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion before we discuss it?
Yeah.
Anybody want to make a motion?
To accept the ratification.
I can't, because I was
You
involved in
can,
it.
you can still make the motion since you, that's okay, because you're the one that probably knows the
I'd
most.
rather them do it.
Okay.
I make a motion, we accept the ratification from the negotiations for the 24-25 school year.
We have a second?
I'll second for the interest in having a discussion.
And discussion.
I just, everything's according to oil as far as you're concerned. I mean, there
Yes,
are
definitely. One
nothing-
thing that we did do, that might be of a little whatever, is the pay scale, the first three lines,
Page,
we,
please. Page number.
12, sorry.
Thank you.
Page numbers, that's nice. The first three lines, we just changed it to better have more aligned percentages. It seemed like there were bigger skips, and so we just wanted it to be more even throughout the first 3 years. And then because the teachers did not we did not increase cells or rows 4 through 11, as you can see. The teachers agreed to not increasing their cells, but they will be moving up one step or whatever,
Year.
1 year, whatever we're calling it. So I thought that was very generous of the teachers to not increase the cells and just take the step. And therefore, to make it even for the people that were at the top, or in this case at the bottom, we just added a cell with what, 3%?
3.3.
3.3%.
So yeah, I noticed like for consistency purposes that like from here to here was like 3.1% and here to here was like 3.3% and here to here was like 3.4%. So they're all like kind of close, and we did have the discussion of it would be nice to have that consistency. And where I noticed that it was really big gaps was like here to here was like 2.8%. And so that's just the slightest adjustment to get it to the average of about 3.3% that the rest of these are. And so if we ever can, it'd be nice to be like, okay, this number is this number is this number. And so like it almost goes a little bit up, but we would have a lot more of a consistency of going, we know each row increases 3%. And so this was just, again, as B said, very kind of the teachers to just leave it as B, but it was, this part was just to get us slightly closer to that consistency.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
That's all any question I have.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
I apologize, this is also under financials and negotiated agreements, so, now that it's agreed upon, that will also be updated to our website.
Moving on. Oh, motion carried. Approval of classified staff wages.
We did that.
You missed one. No, No,
approval of support
No,
staff.
we need to approve classified staff wages.
Yep.
So are you giving your classified staff a pay increase? Yeah.
They're all just giving a step.
So
Got it.
does the motion need to be just a step increase? Is that what? If they choose to make a motion?
I motion to approve the classified wages.
Going up one step.
Going up one step.
Is
Second.
that, I'll second that.
All in favor? Any more discussion?
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. Approval of support staff, district office wages.
Is it also a step
Same thing.
increase?
Yep. Step.
Need another motion there.
It's the same.
Oh.
Yeah.
I motion to approve, approval of the support staff / district office wages for the 24-25.
For a step increase?
Yeah, there you go.
I'll second that.
More discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Pass. Principal contracts, duration and amounts.
Okay,
We
for
need to
the,
go one.
yeah, one at a time. First one on the list is Melanie Martinez, Clearwater Valley Elementary School, Elk City School. The duration of the contract was previously approved, and the annual salary I'm recommending is $92,700.
Yes. Yes, Carly. Yes.
I move, do we have to do each one individually?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I would move that we give Melanie Martinez as the CVE Elk City's principal a 2-year, $92,700 contract for the 24-25 school year.
I'll
So
second
I
that.
only
We just
need
need
the
the
amount.
now.
I only need the amount for Melanie because we already made the 2 year.
That was
Only
great practice.
because great practice.
Great practice.
Okay.
Okay.
We're getting there.
We'll try that again.
A second.
No, we got it.
We're good?
Okay, got it.
Alright. All more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next one on the list is Vincent Martinez, Clearwater Valley Junior Senior High School principal. Duration of contract would be 2 years, annual salary $90,000.
Have we already done it?
No, we gotta do
you
2 year
need
on
to-
this one. This one and Amanda, we have to do 2 year.
Right, so
I
when I
would
say
motion that we
duration,
give Vincent Martinez, CVHS principal, a 2-year, $90,000 per year contract.
A second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Moved. Next one.
okay, on the list, Jessica Robinson, she's the Grangeville Elementary Middle School, or GEMS principal. We have previously approved the duration of the contract for 2 years, so I am recommending the salary only at $92,700.
I move that we offer Jessica Robinson, the GEMS principal, contract for $92,700 each year.
No, just this year.
Okay.
We will talk
Got
about
it.
it next year. Yep.
Second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Last one.
Okay, the last one on there is Amanda Bush, Grangeville High School principal. I recommend the duration of contract for 2 years, annual salary $90,000.
I would motion that Amanda Bush gets a 2-year, $90,000 contract for GHS principal.
Second?
I'll second that.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 24-25 school year superintendent contract.
Do an election day. We already prepared it.
Oh, no action. We're good to go. House Bill 521 discussion. Lump sum versus annual. It's up to you.
So there was a little bit of, we keep having webinars, and so the last one was, or no, 2 webinars ago, They were going, okay, you guys need to have the lump sum versus annual distribution decided by July 1 of 25. And oh my gosh, the comment section just went, no, you said July 1 of 24. And they're like, oh, no, you have until July 1 of 25. So not as big of a rush, but still obviously really important to talk about. So yes, we're still going through the whole lump sum versus annual distribution. I believe my recommendation is still lump sum, but I do wonder if you guys want to wait to talk about it until Rich Boucher's presentation next month. He's just gonna do evaluation of the buildings, or he came and did the evaluation of the buildings. He's gonna do a presentation of what they're looking like and what kind of expenditures we could have in the next 10 years. And the maintenance team and I have been going to these webinars and meeting and talking about it. And I mean, we could obviously talk about it tonight, but I'm wondering if that will just provide a little bit more guidance. We just don't have the deadline I thought we did a month ago, so.
But with or without his presentation, it would be a good idea to take the lump sum and collect interest.
Right.
I would agree. Oh, but another
Oh, shoot.
fun
Okay, there's a new one.
caveat to this is it's not just one or the other now. It could be a mixture. So we could do this first year as an annual distribution and then get the remaining 9 years as the lump sum, which they're, again, still have to do bonds. And by the time that's all fully collected through the bonds and distributed out to the districts, we might have it all by the end of next year. I budgeted it for having it all by the end of next year, but that was just to cover my bases. Maybe we only have 50%. Again, my recommendation is still lump sum, but the only reason I brought up that we could do a little of both is our communities did just pass a levy. And so if we chose 1 year of annual distribution and then the 9 years of the lump sum, the annual distribution would follow the House Bill 292 requisitions of paying off the levy first. And so we're already gonna have a good amount coming to us from 292, but if we wanted to have a little bit more to kind of almost ease our community back into having levy or extra property taxes, it was completely just a thought. Obviously, again, I don't know if I would recommend more than 1 year if the board so chose to go that direction, but it was just a thought that some other districts were kind of playing around with. They're like, well, at least we know we'd for sure get 10% in August if we did the annual distribution and then wait for the bonds. But again, that's also 10% that wouldn't go in to help the facilities. It would just be to offsetting the levy. So
Carly, is there a
lots to think
deadline?
about.
Did you say there was a-
July 1 of 2025.
Oh, so you don't need a motion before the next, okay. that's
No,
fine.
I thought the deadline was this July 1.
Do you think we should wait till a new superintendent comes in and they can help direct us to make a decision?
I'm sure that would be a great idea as well.
Can we table it?
You can table it, you tabled it last time, you
Down
can
the
table
road.
it again.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You just need a motion.
I make a motion that we table the item with respect to House Bill 521
I'll second it.
till next meeting.
Do we need to get something to the county by a certain date though?
It wouldn't be the county, it's the state. They would like us to fill out a survey to get an
Yeah.
idea of if they need to start, or like the approximate amount of bonds they need to start doing, so.
But if we're buying down the levy a little,
Oh, then yes, we would obviously want to make that decision by July in order to get the amount to report for our L2, yeah.
and when is that due?
It's due like the first week of September, but normally I
Okay.
get it in by the end of August, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess there's that
Any more
deadline.
discussion?
You have a second?
You have a second?
Oh, you have one,
More
okay.
discussion? More discussion? All in favor of tabling it? Table.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Library Advisory Committee. Reauthorize.
I move
Spock
that
can
we,
speak to this better than I can.
No, that's for you. That's for you.
For the,
I move that we, do you need to talk about this?
Well, just briefly.
Okay.
After the last meeting on the 10th, Kim Fales and I talked, and some of the, and when we get to the 2000 series policies on the library, some of those are going to interact with the adoption of curriculum policy. So I asked Kim Fales, we talked about her being included in the meeting so she could have a heads up on all the stuff going on. So different, or same folks as before. I put incoming superintendent on there. I've also talked to Amanda Bush she replaced Randall. And let me think, that's about it. And then I put some stuff in the bottom there, 1 through 6, to clarify the purpose and how long it would go with the libraries being an issue. Again, trying to, the one policy that needs to be finished off is 2510. So the idea was, let's get this going for the school year, have this completed by September meeting, so we go till September. So they'd have enough time to see what the updates were from ISBA, talk about those in 2510, talk about anything that involved curriculum that overlapped, and then final discussion and approval of all of the policies in September.
Mr. Chairman, and I would ask Madam Clerk if you'd make a note of my comments. So I want to thank Mr. Spock for your efforts in wrangling this particular item as well as you did. It started out very contentious, and we've turned out a pretty darn good product in the interest of this district. And it was due to your leadership, so thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
It was good meeting people and seeing what they had to contribute and didn't do that for us.
It was great.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion?
You need to reauthorize.
I make a motion that we authorize the subcommittee with respect to library policy.
I'll second that.
Already discussed, all in favor? Aye. Approval of policies, third reading here.
Okay. This is the one where we had to get everybody.
It looks like this.
It looks like that. That's the correct one. The one that came in the board packet is not correct. One motion to discuss first, ready to discuss.
Yeah, you can make a motion. I'll write for you.
Frankly, well, Ms. Bush, Amanda,
Yes,
would you, how would you prefer to handle the issue with respect to the EAP program? Reference that we would just note that you'll be making an appropriate.
well, I sent you some information about that.
They don't have that. I'm just saying in terms of moving this forward tonight, we don't need a fourth reading.
No.
Mr. Spock, would you agree with that we do not need a fourth reading?
The only thing that I want you to add is to discuss what the employee assistance program is.
That's right.
So I just sent you a definition of the
Okay,
employee
right.
assistance program and the website address so that it would be referenced in the
Oh,
policy,
that's
what
great.
you're offering
Sure.
to them. So that was all I wanted to do, was add what the employee assistance program is in the state of Idaho for people who need some mental health services related to an event that might occur at school or otherwise, actually.
Or applicable to this policy. What we're talking about is the item, J6 on page 7. We were just looking to get some better, more concise language with respect to being able to refer a staff member who they want to or need to be referred to our EAP program. So other than that, the couple of very minor changes on page 2, second paragraph. This was originally a statement that was within the body of the report. I felt that it was more appropriate in the general statement under section A, so that got moved. That's why it's in green. Moving through, there's on page 4, under item P3-4, there's just the addition of the words ongoing. And then on page 6, I think those 3 suggested language, actual changes and additions are kind of, the need for those are kind of plain on their face. They're very brief. Take a moment and take a look at those. Other than that, I think it's it. I want to thank Ms. Bush and Mr. Spock for their work. We spent a lot of hours, and I think it's a much better policy than where we started, given that the bottom line of this policy is risk management for the district, and at the same time allowing staff the ability to act appropriately based on their perceptions and not some artificial bureaucratic language.
In addition, we're gonna try to write a procedure that goes, the
Yes.
form is in process, and it will align exactly with the information that we put into this form. So we have one from the state that matched the original, and now we'll just slightly make the changes to match the slight language changes that Mr. Dunn and Mr. Spock and I worked on.
Thank you. Thanks for doing all that.
Yeah, thank you. We've not made a motion, correct?
No.
You want to make
Maybe
a
it needs to
motion?
change applicable on, this one in green on 4 on 7,
On what page, 7?
number 7.
Page number?
Yeah, page 7.
Page 7.
Number 4.
Number 4. Oh, applicable, I'm sorry, I missed that one.
Yeah, applicable.
Applicable student education file kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, accumulative?
No, applicable, the report in the applicable to whom the report is applicable, is the meaning of that.
I know, but the student's file is actually called an accumulative.
Oh, yeah, we could add that word.
Cumulative.
Cumulative file?
I think we
I
were
don't think it
referencing not,
matters.
so a Q file is a paper file we keep in a drawer based on every student. The file we're talking about is associated with Skyward or the data management system where we keep track of infractions and events that occur. So I think that is in reference to the data system that we utilize to keep track of information, not a Q file in this specific case, because we don't usually.
Oh, because you're talking about sped.
Yeah, well,
So-
no, we're talking about all kids, but when a kid gets a detention, or any event, then in the data system in Skyward, you go to their profile, you add a disciplinary event, and then you type what happens, or some other event, a health event, we have all kinds of events. I think we're referring to the data management system, and a Q file is an actual paper folder that follows that student from school to school.
Yes.
Okay.
I just took it.
And plus, I think you bring up a good point, Amanda, and very applicable, because if I'm a parent, I come in and want to know, all you gotta do is call Skyward up and say, here it is right there.
Yeah.
Versus going into a folder and saying,
Yeah.
you know, you just use the appropriate folder, file for what you want to relay to the parent or the kid.
And just so we're clear on page 7 with the blue language,
Good to go.
we're gonna insert what works best.
Hi.
Good.
Yeah, we have to open that facility.
Oh, did we? Oh, okay. I just closed it, hoping
I
maybe
know.
it would help the school.
I know, sorry.
Thank you.
All right, so we still need a
Yeah, it's just
motion?
weird, there's like no fan going, there's nothing, it's like stagnant.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. I went in there and it's running.
You're saving electricity.
Do you still need a motion?
Yeah.
I need a motion.
Okay, good.
Yes.
That make you guys
I move
sweat.
that we, oh, sorry, huh?
Go for it.
Make you sweat.
Yeah. I move that we accept the policy 3345 as presented.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yay.
Approval of Quality Series 2000.
We do all of them in one swift motion.
Right.
Anybody want to make a motion?
These were the ones we looked at the last meeting, correct?
This is first reading. You have not seen these.
I've not seen this.
I'm on the curriculum, I mean, I'm
Oh,
on the committee, so I
The
have
board,
seen
this
it.
is the first time these have came to the board.
Okay,
Okay.
I don't.
but nothing's been changed since the last meeting, right, Larry?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
The only thing that we said is the advisory committee was 2510, otherwise these are all ready to go.
Great, okay.
Right. We have within 2510, we have two basic elements. We have the selection process, and we have
The form that will attach to the resolution.
for the sake of the public, what we're talking about is managing the books in the library and that whole process. There's been new law which hasn't been interpreted for us by the Board of Education, so we'll be coming back to this once we get direction from the board, but this is the policy that we have in place. So we haven't forgotten about the new law. However, don't panic if you don't see it in the policy.
Vice Chairman Dunn, what policy are you talking about?
I'm talking about the series, library materials, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Series
2500.
2000.
Well, 2510
Right.
is the one that we aren't doing tonight.
It's the
Yeah,
same.
we don't have 2510
We don't
on
have
it.
2510. I'm just saying, I just wanted to let-
On 2510.
I'm just anticipating somebody calling and saying, where's the new law? And we don't have it yet.
Yeah, we're still working on that.
We're still working on that. Anyway.
Can I make a motion?
Yeah.
I need a motion.
I move that we accept the policy 2500, 2520, 2530, 2530F as presented.
And I would second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you amended the agenda, you need to go to your number 12 for concealed firearms.
Fire.
All right,
That's
if I
this
may,
one here. The paper cut.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, this is with respect to the concealed firearms policy that was previously approved unanimously by this board. With, I'll call it the, under page 2, under number 25, references, and until we identified the funds for this, that we, I call it suspended the implementation. Well, those funds have been identified as represented by our comptroller, and so it would be my motion that we implement this policy and proceed with screening applicants and going through the process.
Is that actually a motion?
Yep,
That
that's
was
his
a
motion.
That's a good motion.
Very
That's a
good
good one.
motion.
I'll second that. Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so now you need a motion to go back into executive session.
So we're in the open meeting, right?
Yep, so you end your open meeting and go back into executive. I need a motion.
You are
Motion to end open meeting.
So moved.
Yeah, we gotta go back.
I need a motion to go into executive, please.
I move that we go into re-adjourn. I mean, we
We just paused, didn't we?
yeah, we just paused, so we
No,
just.
that was just
Alright.
for.
All right, you guys are
We just
done.
need to go back, yeah.
You guys don't need to go back into open session.
No.
You have nothing, yeah,
No.
you're making no decisions after executive. So your regular meeting is
Adjourn.
adjourned, but I need to go back into executive.
Yeah,
So
I move that we go back into executive.
I second that motion.
All in favor?